Well, good morning, everyone, and thank you very much for joining us today. And I hope we have a great opportunity to understand how you can be winning the career game. I'd just like to start off by saying a few things. I need to stand here because I need to keep myself from shaking. I'm a little nervous here. This fearless hasn't come out of me yet here, so but maybe by the end when I'm done. I just want to thank Charla very much for the opportunity to be here today and to speak in front of all you wonderful women. I think I was speaking to her between the break, and I didn't realize how much work she had done and how impactful she's been over the years. So I greatly appreciate that, and look forward to hearing more about your travels and everything like that. Also, I want to thank the speakers too, and though we haven't heard you all, I'm very excited to be a part of this group because as I was reading the lineup and I sent a note back to Charla, I said, oh my gosh, I feel very humbled to be speaking with all these incredible women. And I just hope I can live up to your great talks. So as well as just, I'd be remiss if I didn't mention two very special people that are here, my sisters, who have never come and heard me speak before, other than at home when we're sitting around having a drink or whatever, because I do love to talk. So, but I'm very pleased to have them here, and they are very fearless women in their own right. So I appreciate that. And Joan and Catherine, thank you as well for coming out to hear me today. As you know now, my name is Allison Kasper, and I'm presently the Senior Vice President of Business and Social Impact with Copperfin Credit Union. We're centered in Kenora, but we have branches here in Thunder Bay, Sioux Narrows, Nestor Falls, and Ear Falls, all the hot spots in northwestern Ontario. My role entails supporting the business development and the growth for the organization. But the super cool part of my job, not that business development isn't sexy, but the super cool part of my job is that corporate social responsibility. I oversee that for Copperfin as a whole. Annually, Copperfin gives back to our communities in excess of $100,000, and back to the communities in which we live and serve. It could be something as small as providing a prize for a local bingo night that's going on in the community. We gave back this past year. We gave $25,000 to Roots to Harvest to purchase a van for their community program. Thank you. And we also gave $50,000 to the Lake of the Woods Hospital Foundation to participate in their CT scanner program, which is something that benefits the region as a whole. So we're very proud of our contributions to that. That's what's sexy about my job, giving back the money. So Thank you. I just want to give you a brief introduction around the world of credit unions and cooperatives. Not so much from the perspective of products and services, but from the role and support of today's conference theme, how you can succeed at winning the career game. At the local level, Copperfin employs a number of women in senior positions. Not only myself, we have a Senior Vice President of Finance and Treasury, we have a Senior Vice President of Governance, we have a VP of Risk, and we have a VP of Administration and Credit Risk. Those numbers are increasingly regularly with career-oriented women who come to the credit union system. You've already heard from one, Steph, and you're going to hear from one of our other inspiring employees, Lisa McLean, later on this afternoon. But I'd be remiss if I didn't mention the rest of the girls that are here to support me today from Copperfin, Jackie and Caitlin. Thank you very much. Emily, and thank you for coming out as well. It embraces what, entering into understanding women in the system, it embraces what many businesses have turned a blind eye to, that employing and advancing and empowering women in every level of the industry just makes good sense. Many credit unions, including two of Canada's largest credit unions, have female CEOs. No glass ceilings here. But it doesn't stop there. The broader cooperative sector has created and supports a variety of programs aimed at dramatically increasing the options for women to occupy senior roles and to ensure the meaningful education and development opportunities exist. The Women's Mentorship Program run by the Cooperative Development Foundation and the Women's Global Program Leadership Initiative run by the World Council of Credit Unions were both created to provide forums for women around the world to increase their skills, participate in mentorship programs, and to find real career paths above and beyond more stereotypical roles that women are normally slotted into. I'd be delighted to speak with any of you further on or throughout the day if you would like more information around these opportunities. Right now, I'm going to try and provide you with some insights for you, not so much about my actual career achievements, but as to what happens to when you climb the ladder in life, hike that mountain, or whatever comparative illustration works best for you to advance the goal of winning the career game. I want to relate 5 short stories and lessons learned in the career game to illustrate my points. Story 1. As Charlotte already indicated, back in 1988, I started with, at that time, Royal Bank of Canada, which is now RBC. And I started as a backup stenographer. And here's the funny story of just how qualified I was for this job. So for those of you that are 40 plus, you'll remember a dictaphone machine. And if you remember, that's how letters and memos, etc., got transcribed onto a little cassette recorder. And little cassette recorder. There's a tiny little tape that you took out and you transferred into this machine. You put these headphones on, and away you go. You listened to whatever and you typed it out. That's what you did. Well, my very first experience in using this, I set it all up. I was good to go. I pushed play, started to type away. There was nothing. I'm like, I'm not hearing anything. I look down, the tape's going. I'm like, I don't know what's going on. And then I kind of looked up and I see my colleagues like across the branch and they're kind of waving at me, trying to get my attention. All of a sudden, I'm like, okay, take the headphones off. Oh, the entire branch, staff, and clients, all were hearing the letter dictated, except for me. I forgot to plug it in to the headset. So needless to say, that was kind of like my second day on the job. So I did come back the next day, and I ended up staying for 12 years later. So, through my time at Royal Bank, I advanced through a series of positions, including at one point I was designated as the most promising officer for the Ontario region. But along the way to my final position as assistant manager, sales and service in the Thunder Bay area. Royal at the time was a company that was restructuring a program, and I was tagged with helping support that project to reshape the branches in Thunder Bay. That work, in fact, ended up with myself restructuring myself right out of a job. Although I was aware that at the time, I felt that the role was important enough that I needed to stay on and participate in it. I was also responsible for that Y2K project. So again, anybody over a certain age, remembering all that hype that led up to January 1, 2000. I ended my career with Royal Bank in April of 2000. And the lesson here is, setbacks will occur in every career. Don't let them define you. Recognize them as an opportunity to move forward in another direction. Story 2. Boy, did I move in a different direction. I took a job with the Thunder Bay Charity Casino. Not what I thought of as a career, but hey, we all had to live. I was determined to work harder and smarter and use that as my guide. Along the way, I applied for management positions, twice with no success. Indeed, the manager of the day, in full candor, told me I had 0 skills and I was not qualified for management. Boy, did that kill my ego. I had a friend in surveillance at the time who suggested that I apply at a local credit union that needed a management position. And ultimately I did. The lesson here is, you won't always recognize opportunity at a first glance. It isn't always obvious, but be open to possibilities. Don't hesitate to take chances. None of us knows for sure where the path we walk will ultimately take us. Story 3. I got my job, I mentioned, in story 2, and there was considerable skepticism about my skills. The CEO candidly told me my resume had made the B pile. I had been out of financial services for 6 years. I had lost what skills he thought I had, and what he told me was, you have 20 minutes, sell yourself, and I'm only doing this as a favor. So I sold myself to that credit union leader, and that entered me into, 2 hours later it took me, but I sold myself, entered me into the new world of credit unions and cooperatives. In the process, I also secured the mentorship of that CEO, who clearly outlined his expectations with me, and that included him taking me into the position that he was going to retire from shortly. The lesson here, don't be afraid to sell yourself. Your personality means so much to prospective employers, often as much as your skills. So put yourself out there. It's not always about the letters behind your name. Story 4. My big opportunity as my mentor and CEO decided to retire and enjoy a more relaxed life a little bit earlier than we had planned, but I applied for the CEO position nonetheless. To give you the condensed version, broad-based approach search took place, many candidates. While I placed second on that list, I was not successful. Now, it would have been easy for me to just become bitter and let the loss define me, but I knew that wouldn't get me closer to my goals. Instead, I jumped back into my role, and at that time I was Chief Operations Officer, and I expanded it by ensuring that the new CEO's induction was seamless, that he was welcomed and accepted by the staff, that he learned the ins and outs of the credit union system. There were senior management and other staff challenges that were made along the way, but I made it easier for him by having a reliable and supportive second in command to walk him through it. So what happened next? A year later, it was obvious that the move wasn't right for him, and he left the company. Shortly thereafter, I was appointed CEO. No search this time, no competition, straight appointment. Can you guess the lesson here? Once again, the path forward is not always straight. And when that happens, don't fight it. Take the lemon life has handed you and make lemonade. Realize that sometimes you have to take a second run at it. Sometimes before you beat any challenge down, just make sure you take that second run. Story 5, and the last one. So there I sat in the position, as I always wanted, CEO of a $100 million credit union, 5 branches throughout northwestern Ontario. I loved it, I excelled at it, but listen, there's a 5th lesson coming here. It became very apparent to myself and the board of directors that a secure future for the credit union needed benefits of scale, and after much negotiation, we entered into a merger with Copperfin Credit Union in Kenora. Mergers can often be sidelined by some very common thorny issues, including who would lead, who could be the CEO of the new entity. I recognized early on that this was not my time, but the merger must occur. So I stepped away from consideration of the role and accepted a position as Executive Vice President of Sales and Operations. The merger was successfully completed. We are now Northwestern Ontario's largest locally owned credit union. The final lesson, I'm not sure you got it, is to realize that sometimes you have to take a step or two sideways in order to take steps ahead. Don't be afraid of that. Embrace it. See it for what it is, another opportunity, another chance to prove your worth to the organization, to demonstrate your confidence and your ability to move forward in life. Thank you very much for having me speak today.